So let me just read to you right now because I just want you to hear the story and the context from which the Holy Spirit began to deal with me as it relates to what I'm going to share. So Acts chapter 27, and we're going to look at verse number 13, I believe we're going to start at. And I'm going to read actually verse number 13 all the way to the end of the chapter. Now you say, that's a lot of scripture. But we in church and we're going to be here for a minute, so y'all ain't got nothing else to do right now, do you? No. And the reason why I'm going to read is because I want you to understand the backdrop of what's being said here. So just be patient with me, and we'll get to it. We'll get to the meat of it. So Acts chapter 27, beginning at verse 13, I'm going to read from the New Revised Standard Version. No, you know what? I think I'm going to switch on you. I think I'm going to read from the NIV today because it says it a little more plainly. All right, so from the NIV, Acts chapter 27, beginning at verse number 13, and it says, when a gentle south wind began to blow, they saw their opportunity, so they weighed anchor and sailed along the shore of Crete. Before long, a wind of hurricane force, called a nor'easter, swept down from the island. The ship was caught up by the storm, and it could not head into the wind, so we gave way to it and were driven along. As we passed to the lee of the small island called Cauda, we were hardly able to make the lifeboat secure. So the men hoisted it aboard. Then they passed ropes under the ship itself to hold it together because they were afraid they would run aground on the sandbars of Syrtis. They lowered the sea anchor and they let the ship be driven along. We took such a violent battering from the storm that the next day they began to throw cargo overboard. On the third day, they threw the ship's tackle overboard with their own hands. When neither sun nor star appeared for many days and the storm continued raging, we finally gave up all hope of being saved. Verse 21 says, after they had gone a long time without food, Paul stood up before them and said, men, you should have taken my advice from the very beginning not to sail to Crete. Then you would have spared yourselves this damage and loss. But now I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost, only the ship will be destroyed. Last night, verse 23 says, an angel of God to whom I belong and whom I serve stood beside me and said, do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand trial before Caesar, and God has graciously given you the lives of all who sail with you. So keep up your courage, men, for I have faith in God that it will happen just as he told me. Nevertheless, we must run aground on some island. On the 14th night, verse 27, we were still being driven across the Adriatic Sea when about midnight the sailors sensed that they were approaching land. They took sounding and found that the water was 120 feet in depth. A short time later, they took sounding again and found that it was 90 feet deep. Fearing that they would dash against the rocks, they dropped anchor from the stern and prayed for daylight. In an attempt to escape from the ship, the sailors let the lifeboat down into the sea, pretending that they were going to lower down the anchors from the bow. Then Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers that unless these men stay on the ship, you cannot be saved. So the soldiers cut the ropes that held the lifeboats and let them drift away. Just before dawn, Paul urged them all to eat. For the last 14 days, he said, you have been in constant suspense and gone without food. You haven't eaten anything. Now I urge you to take some food. You need it to survive. Not one of you will lose a single hair on your head. After he said this, he took some bread and gave thanks to God in front of them. Then he broke it and began to eat. They were all encouraged and ate some food themselves. Altogether, there were 276 of them on board. When they had eaten as much as they wanted, they lightened the ship yet again by throwing the grain into the sea. When daylight came, They did not recognize the land, but they saw a bay with a sandy beach where they decided to run the ship aground if they could. Cutting loose the anchors, they left them in the sea, and at the same time they untied the ropes that held the rudders. Then they hoisted the foresail to the wind and made for the beach. But the ship struck a sandbar and ran aground. The bow stuck fast and would not move, and the stern was broken to pieces and was pounding on the surf. The soldiers planned to kill the prisoners to prevent them from swimming away and escaping, but the centurion wanted to spare Paul's life and kept them from carrying out the plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and get to land. The rest were to get there on planks and on other pieces of the ship. In this way, everyone reached land safely. There's a lot to read, isn't it? Amen. And so God told me to tell you that we got to hold our course. That's the message for not only our corporate gathering today, but that's a message for some of you's individual lives, that you need to hold your course today. This story in Acts 27 is about Paul being convicted, or being, the Jews wanted to try Paul because of his commitment now to Christianity or following Christ when he was first a Pharisee. And because they didn't have the authority to punish him on their own, Paul appealed to the government, which was Caesar. But the Jews really wanted to take Paul and destroy him, but he said, no, I'd rather go to the higher court, because I believe I taught you before that the issue with Paul and the Pharisees and his conversion to believe in Christ was not a religious issue. It was a kingdom issue. And so the religious people really couldn't have authority over, and that's why he appealed to the government, to Caesar, because it's a government-to-government issue. It's not a religion-to-government issue. And I hope you get what I'm saying to you. Somebody gonna get that in a minute. See, a lot of us, we have been trying to fight Satan with our religion, but it's not about your religion. It's about a government that you represent. Okay. And so in religion, you can plead for some things, but in government, you can demand some things to happen. And so some of us, we are fighting a fight that's not consistent, because we're fighting with our religious tradition, and Satan is fighting with his authority over the land, over the government. And until believers begin to understand that they are government agents from a kingdom not from here, then you'll always use your religion to fight, and you won't take authority over anything. So I'm trying to get you to switch gears in your thinking. And so Paul is fighting a governmental fight. Your church is involved in a governmental fight at this point. Yeah. Now they're trying to make it out of a church-to-church issue, but it's about government versus government. We had the city manager on our property yesterday. We had the fire chief on our property, and I shouldn't tell you all this, but they were fighting us because we said we're going to take authority over our own property. And not everybody liked the fact that we're going to take authority over our own property. Can I stop and say something here to you? That in your own life, there's some things you need to take authority over, but everybody ain't going to like it when you stand up and take authority. Yeah, there are some people who are benefiting over you because you are ignorant of what you're really over. But when you find out what you got authority over, it is incumbent upon you to stand up and take your authority over your thing. And the devil ain't going to like it when you stand up for what's yours. Not only in your church, but in your life. All right, sit down. Y'all gonna make me speak too quick now. I'm trying to pace myself here. And so Paul is on his way there, But Paul says, and we're going to jump back and forth because I really want to get you to understand the context of it. Paul told them that an angel told them that they're going to make it to the place where they were going. But they still endured the shipwreck. So because they were going to make it to the place didn't mean that passage there wouldn't be challenging. Children of God, let me tell you, God has made some awesome promises to you. But along the way, there's going to be some challenge. Paul says that the God that I belong to and the God that I serve said that we're going to make it. We're going to make it and no one will lose their life because I have to see Caesar. Everyone who stays with me are going to make it to their place too. Don't you know that there are people that you're connected to in destiny that because they're going to make it to theirs, you're going to make it to yours? I can't get no help here. See, some of you are fooling and thinking that you just in all of this by yourself. But God has fixed this thing so that we got to be connected to one another to get to where we need to be. I don't care how much you don't like it. Look at your neighbor and say, I need you and you need me. Some of us think we're going to do this thing all by ourselves. Paul said the only reason why y'all going to survive is because y'all connected to me. And God said, I got to be somewhere. And because you happen to be here, you're going to make it the way you're supposed to be too. That's why young folk, you ought to always connect to folk who going somewhere. Because if you don't, you're going to end up where they are. It's good to be connected to the right folk who going somewhere. All right, I just threw that in for you. We're going to make it, but it's going to be rough. We're going to make it, but it's going to be rough. But at the end of the day, we're going to make it. But it's going to be rough though. Don't. Everything that you started out with, you ain't going to finish with it. But you're going to make it. Look, they said that it got so rough that see, what they were trying to do was trying to get down to a certain place before winter set in so that they can have easy passage on into Italy to bring Paul before Caesar. And Paul had already told them, look, this time of year that y'all sailing, where the fall and the tempestuous winds begin to happen, is not the best time. So we don't need to go out here right now. We need to wait this thing out. And the owner of the ship said, no, we're going anyway. Because they wanted to make it to a certain point, you know. And they were deceived by, the scripture says, a gentle wind. And the gentle wind gave them to believe that they would have easy course to where they were going. See, some of you started out in this journey with a gentle wind blowing in your face. And you say, oh, this is going to be an easy walk. The Lord is with me. Look, I'm going to make it to where I got to go because the wind is favorable and things are all right. But they did enough to get in the boat and take off. And as soon as they got out in the middle of the water, the wind changed on them. I'm trying to tell somebody the wind changing, y'all. The wind changing. They ran into hurricane force wind out there in the midst of the water. Gale of force winds, a nor'easter is what they call it, that they begin to endure. So much so that they were trying to guide the ship. But the wind was so strong, they couldn't get the ship to steer right. So finally, they had to take their hands off of it and let the ship go wherever the wind took it. I came to tell somebody, you've been trying to guide your way through this thing. I came to tell somebody, you got your hand on the stern, but the wind fighting against you. And what God trying to tell you is that I know the way you don't. Let the ship go. Let it go. Stop trying to hold the ship together. Stop begging that man to stay with you. Let the ship go. Stop begging to stay on that job. Let that ship go. You holding and the wind blowing and God's trying to tell you, let it go. But you said, no, God, I know where I want to go. God says, I know better. Let it go. Somebody in here need to hear this word today. You need to let go of what you're holding on to, because only the wind of the Spirit know where it's going to take you. There's a way that seems right to a man, but I'm telling somebody that the word of the Lord for you today is let it go. Let it go. And so we had to let the thing go. We had to let the thing go because there was no way we could steer it. The wind just got too strong. You know, sometimes God can get on the path with us and just overwhelm us to the point where you're going to give in. I know you're strong, but you're going to give in to this. I know you said, look, I can do whatever I want. Yeah, you're going to give in to this. Somebody needs to know they got to let it go today. They got to let it go. And when they let it go, they didn't have any control over where the ship went. Only the wind would steer it. Can I tell you something that might be very deceiving for some of us to think? Some of us think we're really in control of this journey. And we surround ourselves with different things that suggest we have the control. But can I say to you, you're never really in control of it. And the sooner you figure that out, the quicker you are to surrender to his will and let the thing go. Now, there are several things they had to do in order to get themselves to, because, you know, I'm a Navy veteran, I'm a retired Navy guy, so, you know, and it's talking about ships and stuff, and ships are always important to me, and they interesting to me. So when they let it go, they realized that they had too much stuff on the ship, and they had to somehow, in order to get the ship to be pliable in the water, they said we got to let some stuff go so that we ourselves can make it through. So they begin to throw away some of the cargo on the ship to lighten the load of the ship. Let me tell you, this cargo, a lot of us got a lot of cargo on our ship right now. We carrying around cargo that other people gave us. We've been carrying their stuff around for them. I thought I had a praying church. And somebody lied and said that their cargo was important. So like spiritual hoarders, we collect all of this stuff. And we riding on this ship with all of this stuff, only to realize that when the wind comes, we got to get rid of some of that mess. Some of the stuff in your life, God has caused a hurricane to come so you can let that stuff go. There's some stuff you're trying to fight in a present war with old stuff, and it ain't going to work this time. Throw that stuff overboard. You can't carry all this stuff with you. Some of you are carrying your grandmama's religion with you. Find that cargo box and throw it overboard. Some of you are carrying granddaddy's thoughts with you. You need to find some of that stuff and throw it overboard. You got to lighten this ship, or it's going to weigh you down. Some of y'all at church today because you're weighed down. You're trying to live according to what someone else told you, what their experience was. Well, my husband left me, so your husband going to leave you. Throw that over. Well, we broke. Our family ain't never had no money, and we broke. Throw that overboard. Look. You know, I had a child out of wedlock. You going to have a child. So there's some cargo that you are carrying in your life that belongs to somebody else's story. It don't belong on your boat. But you've hoarded the thing and you've been holding on just in case you hit an experience where you might need it. I'm telling you today it's time to jettison some of the junk that's on your boat. Sit down. So if you want the wind to have free access to your life, you got to light this thing up. Some of us carrying too much stuff with us. Some of us carrying Martin Luther King's theology with us. Some of us, we still talking about the Reformation. And all that's good information, but that ain't the fight we in. That ain't the win we incurred right now. That old Baptist song they used to sing, well, it ain't Baptist, but the Baptist sure could sing it well. Was a charge to keep I have and a God to glorify. There's a part in that song that says, so that I can serve the present age. See, many of us are not serving in the present age. We are caught up hoarding cargo from a previous time. It's time to throw that stuff overboard. So they had to throw some cargo overboard. They had to go through the whole ship to see what wasn't necessary. I've been holding this for a long time, and I think I'm going to lose weight to get back into this thing, but I done had it for 15 years, and it's time to let that thing go. It's time to let that thing go. It's time to let the thing go. You walk by it and you see it's taking up space in your life, and you say, but one day I'm going to get, and that day never, let that thing, it's time to let that thing go. Some of you still hold on to old phone numbers. Yeah, Well, I know they married now, but see, I just believe that they're going to go through something. Our class reunion is next year, and I got to. Throw that black book away. Yeah. You got to lighten your load, you see. You got to allow the wind to have access and free course in your life to guide you to where you really need to go. And so when you're able to go through the inventory of your life, you begin to realize what's necessary for my journey. Because I'm on a journey. And what's necessary for my journey and what's necessary for everybody else's journey. So I can't carry everybody else's stuff with me. When we go to the grocery store and go shopping, we don't all shop and get the same things. I get what I'm going to get based on what what my appetite tells me. And if I brought my shopping cart to you and said, hey, won't you buy this for me and you can do the same thing I'm doing, there's some things you can say, well, I don't need this because I would never eat that. I would never do this. This journey that we're on is our own journey, and there's some things that are part of our journey that we've collected along the way that you need to jettison, you need to get rid of. Some of you giving up too much time occupied or preoccupied with stuff that you don't need. And when you leave here today, you're going to load your suitcase back up and say, well, for a brief time in church today, I was able to open up and look through it. But before the service is over, I'm going to latch that thing back down and drag it back out of here with me. I'll go through it when I get home, No, I'm saying some of this stuff you need to let go at the door. Lighten your ship up. And so Paul realized they need to lighten the ship up so that God can navigate through it. But not only did they have to lighten up the cargo, it says that he even got to the point where they had to throw their own tackle overboard. These were fishermen. This was their occupation. Not only could they throw away stuff they were given passage to from others, then they had to throw their own tackle away to lighten up the ship. And when it comes to throwing our own tackle away, that simply tells me that there are some things that we have concocted in our own lives from our own messed up beliefs that we come to rely on, and God said, no, it's time to throw some of that stuff away too. Some of that stuff you believe in just ain't right. Now, you've thrown away cargo from others, but now let me get in your head, because there's some stuff that you believe in that ain't right either. You've tried to use somebody else's cargo and it didn't work, so then you concocted in your own mind, your own belief system, your own comprehension, and that ain't working either. Let's throw your tackle overboard too. The stuff you fish for, the stuff you occupy. That was their occupation. They occupied their time. See, that stuff that you trying to get stuff with, you fishing for, it's time to throw that away too, because believe it or not, God still knows who you are and what it is he wants you to have. Some of us are using our tackle in the wrong way. Some of us have tackles attached to our hips. And see, that's my way of catching it. Some of us got tackles attached to our wallet. See, I might not look like nothing, but I got a fat wallet. Some of us using our tackle the wrong way. And then we're surprised that when we go through and pull from the net, all the mess that comes up with it. Well, if you're fishing with your hips, some of y'all gonna get this in a minute. If you're fishing with the wrong bait, you're gonna pull up the wrong. Some of you keep wondering why I keep coming up with these old messed up fish, because you're throwing the wrong bait out there. It's time to throw your tackle overboard. I promise you I'm going to stop. I'm just trying to tell you, you got to lighten your ship. Some of y'all fishing with the wrong stuff. Some of you trying to get something from God, and God says, no, I know what to do with what I gave you. Trust me with it. But you've decided that I'm going to hang my shingle out, and I'm going to occupy myself with what I think I got, and I'm going to get what I, what's the statement? I know ain't none of y'all watch movies like this, but the Players Club, Dollar Bill said, you got to get what you want. You got to, what does he say? See, I knew some people in there watching it. All right. Right there in that section over there, throw your hands that way. Let's pray for that stuff. See, that's how you catch somebody in the middle of it. See. No. Now what it say, baby? You don't know what it say? You got to use what you got to get what you want. That's what. Yeah, you said that's the first time you heard. You trying to write that down like I just heard. I ain't never heard nobody say that before. We got to realize that we got to surrender to his will for our lives, and that the journey is not always a convenient one, but it's a necessary one. The journey is there to show us that we have everything within us to make it to the end. So I'm going to read just a few statements, and then we're going to let you go. We're going to have communion and let you go. So I kind of talked through some of it already. So let me just hear me out. Write down what you may think is important to you. I got it dated 4/26/2018 when I wrote it, 4:21 a.m. And God says, Ken Miller, hold your course. For the last year and a half, we've been on a journey. During our time together, we've experienced some different things we're not accustomed to. Things happen sometimes on our journey, y'all. Encounters occur which causes us to question much of our conventional wisdom and the wisdom of our foreparents. They cause us to question what we have and what we've relied on as a mainstay for our own lives. The tendency in these situations is to force our methods of belief and coping on the encounter that we're experiencing and causing that encounter to give in to what we believe, only to find out that we can't drive it. We can't drive the ship. The ship has to drive us. As we are being driven, we start to realize the time has come to throw away some of the cargo we've been carrying through our lives. Cargo that we've received by former travelers who did not cease to tell us of how important the cargo was. But in the face of the seemingly violent winds of a new encounter, we're unable to carry all these things with us. As a matter of fact, some of the cargo we've been carrying for years has just been occupying space. Like spiritual hoarders, we hold on to everything just in case until the right experience comes along, and it sends us searching through the overwhelming collection of religious relics and superstitions that we've collected, only to come to grips with the fact that, I wrote this at 421, so y'all got to help me there, that much of it was, what in the world was I writing? Much of it was for some previous journey, and it's time to discard some things and lighten our load. It is extremely hard to guide a ship heavily weighted down with much cargo through a difficult and challenging journey. Some things have to go. All right, I just got another page and head read to you. In addition to the cargo of others, we are carrying through these tempestuous winds of change things that we have, through our own convention and concoction, have pieced together ourselves. Some of us, have pieced together our own things and our own reasoning and rationale for how we're going to make it through until finally we are left with the choice of trying something different. Some decide to abandon the experience. Others try to half-heartedly hold on, while still others have absolutely no idea what to do at all. But God's voice arises out of an unlikely place. Not from the place of familiarity, not from the place of common experience. For shackled within the freight is a voice bound on the outside, but absolutely free on the inside. The voice admonishes, don't abandon ship, hold your course. The time will come when you'll have to test your sea legs. When you're in the Navy, when the Navy will tell you when you first go aboard a ship and you're getting ready to travel across the ship, if this is new to you, you got to develop what they call sea legs. Because when you're in the middle of the water, the swells in the water can get so high that if you have not developed your sea legs, you'll be throwing up and sick the whole time of the journey. But the only way to develop your sea leg is to get through it by throwing up and getting sick. Because eventually you'll learn that when a wave moves, how to step the same way the wave is moving, and not step against it. So some of us are still enduring some challenging times in our life because we ain't learned how to rock with the boat yet, see. We ain't learned how to move with the wave in the water. We going against the current and we getting sick. And I'm trying to tell you, God is trying to teach you how to develop your sea legs, because when you develop your sea legs, your feet become like hind feet and you can I'm trying to help somebody here. I'm going to shout all by myself here in a minute here. The time will come you have to develop your sea legs. So some will swim to the shore while others will be aided by the pieces of ship that used to be a whole mast. I want to encourage you to hold your course. You may not understand all that's going on in your life now, but hold your course. It might seem different from what you've been accustomed to, what you've been through, but hold your course. Just know that, like Paul said, the angel of the Lord has stood beside me tonight and said, we're going to make it. Let me tell you something. The voice of safety came from an unlikely place. The sailors tried to abandon the ship. The guards didn't know what to do, but locked up as a prisoner on the boat, the word of God came. From an unfamiliar place, you would think that while they were on that boat, that the subject matter experts were the sailors who were on the boat. But the answer came from a prisoner who was locked up on the boat. Don't be surprised when God speaks to you from an unlikely place. The prisoners at that point in time were freight on the boat. They weren't even considered anything but just prisoners. But it was out of the depths of the prison of the boat that the word of the Lord spoke and told them to stay on the boat. I'm trying to tell you that God will speak to you out of some unlikely places. Some of you are getting hooked up with the voice of familiarity, and they don't know where you're going, but you got to listen for wherever God speaks to you. Write this stuff down, because I'm telling you, this week God's going to speak to you from an unlikely place. And he said, the angel of the Lord came and stood by me tonight. And he said, because I got to get there, you going to get there. Because we've covenanted together to walk in destiny. Whatever God has planned for me, God going to do something for you too. See, that's what you got to realize about the power of connection, is that wherever I go, we go. How can two walk together unless they agree? If there's a place you're trying to go, just get connected to the right one just get connected to the people who can hear from an unlikely place where God has taken them. Some of us need to retrain how we hear. He said that for those of you who are strong enough to swim the shore, swim. But for those of you who hadn't developed the strength yet, grab hold of something and just float. I'm saying to you tonight, those of you today, those of you who are the children of this church who can swim the shore, because we're going to get to where we're going. No. I said swim the shore, because we're going to get to where we're going. The ship might not look like much right now, but I'm telling you, an angel of the Lord stood beside me and said, Miller, I know you're going through some stuff down there in Riverdale. And I know it don't look like it's going to happen. But I declare to you that what God has promised you, it's going to be for you. Tell your people, stay on this ship. He said, you tell them for me that I'm going to show them that we're going to all make it to safety. That 276 that I got with you, we're going to all make it to the shore. He told me to tell you to stay on the ship today. Hold your course. No matter what it looked like. Hold your course today. Get ready for the gale of force winds are coming. But I need you to hold on. And if you can swim, swim. But if you can't swim, grab hold of something and just hold on. I say grab hold of something and just hold on. Because we going somewhere, y'all. Harvest time ain't just out here on its own. I done turned the rudder loose and say, God, I ain't going to try to guide it no more. Take us where you want us to go. And if you can swim and see somebody that can't, you might want to grab them and swim. Bring somebody with you. But we going somewhere. And God is the one that's orchestrating this whole thing. Everybody stand. I want you to come on. I want you to come on. Can we just bless the Lord real quick?